Hey everyone, Danny and Nick here, and we're with the Fuel Hunt video series going over the De La Riva position right now. Just like Nick had talked about in the previous videos, so if you haven't watched those, go and check those out. But talking about the weight distribution, if the opponent has their legs in the same line, we can easily start to trip them back. So they're gonna have an athletic staggered stance. This is going to mean that they need to project the weight either onto their front leg, their lead leg, or their back leg. So in this video, we're gonna check out what happens if our opponent places the weight in their lead leg, in that front leg, like so. All right, so what we're gonna look to do, can we rotate, actually drop? What we're gonna look to do is create our De La Riva structure, and now my opponent is gonna put the weight into this front leg. And there's a couple different reasons why they might do this. The most common of which is gonna be because they're trying to shift their weight to this side to disconnect this frame, something like this. All right, so as my opponent starts to shift his weight and disconnect, I'm gonna look to pull my knees to my chest, and as he puts that weight forward, he's kind of putting a little bit of the weight into the frame. So if I pull my knees to my chest, it's almost like a trap door feel or pulling the rug out from under him a little bit here. So as he goes to shift, I'm gonna pull my knees to my chest in that moment, and now I can lift my frames to tip my opponent off to the side. So at any moment, as soon as they start to shift, I'm not waiting for something to get disconnected. As I feel him shift his weight, I'm immediately pulling my knees to my chest, and now I can lift, dump him to the side, and I'm free to start sweeping from here. So how are we gonna look to do that? I'm gonna disconnect my frame, the top leg, opening it up, kind of pulling it back, and I have my foot on the near hip. So this is incredibly important. If I place my foot on the far hip or a deep De La Riva, I do not have a frame right now, and my opponent can start pulling me into leg locks, to smash passes, get my head, a lot of different problems can happen. So if I have this frame and he tries to back step into the saddle, if he tries to reach for my head, I'm pretty safe and I can just keep him away. So I'm disconnecting this leg. I have my frame on the near hip, that's incredibly important. And now this hand, I go from the knee, I slide it down and I lift it. So the ankle goes from this hand, I lift and I scoop it with this hand. I now can hug this ankle really tight and come up to my elbow. As I come up to my elbow just like this, I can start to build my base and now pull the leg out, keeping control of his other leg. Notice how I'm outside of my opponent's danger zone. So as he starts to try to come up, he's gonna be shoved back down and either expose his back, or he's gonna start to play his guard in a way where I can already start passing with a high percentage pass. So again, I'm here. My opponent starts to shift his weight to try to disconnect, and that's the moment I pull my knees to my chest. I elevate with my De La Riva hook and the frame. So pull, elevate. I have a frame on this over here, on this near hip over here, and I can even lift my hips going up onto my shoulder a little bit to keep that frame alignment. Open up to lift my opponent's ankle. I keep my frame until my hips are up above my opponent's hips. If I just take it out right now, there's a chance maybe he can press the weight forward into me and make it very difficult to come up. So I wanna keep a frame here or even switch to the other one, and I wanna keep a frame the entire time getting my hip up. So here, hips come up, take the foot out. If he turns his back, I'm able to climb to the back. If he protects himself and plays guard right away, I'm outside of the danger zone and I'm ready to start passing right away. So one time quick, let's have a look at it. Another thing you can do is start to invert at that moment for barambolos. You could switch to leg locks, and it's important to just kind of talk about that once you land in this position, because the guard is meant to attack a sweep, a submission, or a back take. So my opponent starts to break it, off balance him, lift. Now I can start to switch and attack the legs. I can switch and invert and take my opponent's back. Or I could do the sweep if they're defending either of those other options. So there's always gonna be a door that's open, and we're gonna take one of those three: a sweep, a submission, or a back take.
And one thing I will add is if you feel like at any moment the opponent starts to lower their shoulders, feel free to trade from the popliteal to the head, and you can do the same side sweeping motion with head control to help tilt them to the side that you're off balancing them.
Check out the other videos, guys, and we'll see you soon.